All new tonight, suffering in silence. The pandemic made the lives of domestic violence survivors even worse. Nationwide, studies show domestic violence rose more than 8% at the height of COVID-19. And now local support centers fear survivors are bracing for a new wave of violence, and they worry it will get worse before it gets better. ABC Action News in-depth reporter Mason Morrow shows us how the price of paradise is endangering victims of abuse.
It is a huge risk to survivors, and the fear is that more survivors are going to die as a result.
The risks of leaving an abusive partner can be life-threatening. Now, here in Tampa Bay, advocates for domestic violence survivors say there are more factors to be fearful of.
The danger that right? Your abusive partner, you kind of know the risk. You don't know all the risk, but you know some of the risks versus this great unknown.
If there is nowhere for you to go, then sometimes you stay with the devil you know, as opposed to taking a chance.
Certainty over safety, a choice domestic violence survivor Courtney Wheel made for 2 years.
I was isolated completely, and I was not able to get a hold of anybody or in touch with anybody, and nobody really knew what I was going through.
At the age of 20, Wheel met who she called her Prince Charming. But once she became pregnant with her first daughter, Christina, Wheel was introduced to her partner's dark side.
I said something that set him off, and he beat me up pretty bad the first time, just in my face. And then after she was born, it began to get worse.
Wheel says her abuser isolated her from friends and family, broke her down physically and mentally, and controlled every aspect of her life. A life she eventually learned would end if she didn't escape.
Last night when he beat me up, he took my face and my head and he cracked my skull with his knee, shattered my nose and sprained my neck, and so the kids and I went out a window in the middle of the night.
And Wheel never turned back. She found Mindy Murphy and the Spring of Tampa Bay, who helped build her up, and found Wheel and her 2 young girls a new home to start their new life together.
Nothing is as bad as being inside that abuse. And then as you heal and as you get stronger and healthier, all those pieces begin to come together, and that's amazing.
But for many survivors in the Tampa Bay area, it's becoming harder and harder to see those pieces fall into place.
It's a crisis, and I think it's only going to get worse.
Murphy says she's writing $5,000 checks just to put survivors in a safe living situation, a dollar amount unheard of just a year ago.
As those dollars dry up, it's going to be an insurmountable challenge.
The rising rents, even more dangerous for survivors still stuck with their abusive partners. They worry their sole income isn't enough to get by right now.
And these survivors absolutely feel trapped. I mean, where are you to go when rents are, rising 16, 20, 25%, and you have limited means, and maybe you've got a child or two that you have to take care of.
Fear of what they don't know is outweighing the fear of which they do. Murphy says the Spring staff is desperately working to keep up with calls flooding their emergency hotline, fighting to find help for victims before it's too late.
If you're a survivor, you're trying to get along each day, you're trying to stay alive, you're trying to keep your kids alive each day.
That added stress of the rents going up, of all the, the pressure of the gas prices, the pressure of, the food prices, and pretty soon they're under so much pressure, and now they snap and they twist and turn much faster, and abuse becomes worse.
As much as a survivor hopes and wishes, Will says a violent relationship never recovers. And as scary as it may seem, the only way to live on is to leave.
We find a way, and does it mean there might be a couple of nights where you're couch surfing? I hate to say that may happen to somebody, but you'd rather that than end up losing your life.
In Tampa, I'm in-depth reporter Mason Morrow, ABC Action News.
Mason, thank you. And we want to remind you, if you feel stuck in an abusive relationship, you can call or text the 24-hour crisis hotline at 813-247-SAFE. And you can find more helpful services on our website. Go over to abcactionnews.com/DV.